Welcome back to Lighting the Way. I'm your host, Justin Bird. With me today, we have Dan Leitz. Dan works for the Illinois Secretary of State as a program manager for the Organ Tissue Donor Program. Dan is also the co-chair for Donate Life Illinois. Dan, welcome to Lighting the Way.
Thank you, Justin.
So, Dan, let's dive right into it. So what's your story? How did you get involved with Illinois Secretary of State?
Sure. It's quite a long story, but let me just start out by I went to Benedictine University, and the first week I was there, I made a friend. Her name was Vicki Tulkas, and I ended up actually dating her roommate. And we were friends all through college, and then we kind of graduated and went our own ways several years later, and I'm talking 20 years later.
Wow.
I saw that there was a Facebook post that Vicki was sick. So I did what normal people would do. I just sent her a hope you get better post and thoughts and prayers. Mm-hmm. And we ended up striking up a conversation and went back into our kind of catching up mode. And I found out that she had been working for Gift of Hope, which is in the organ donation field. And then she had moved over to the Illinois Secretary of State's organ donor program. So Vicki was working in organ donation as a coordinator, setting up events, and she was going to churches and schools and doing fairs. And on her way home from one of the church events, she didn't feel well, so she stopped off at the hospital, and then it turned into like a 2-week stay. Wow. Where they couldn't figure out what was wrong with her, and then after a diagnosis of Wegener syndrome, they found out that she needed a kidney transplant. So you can imagine the regional coordinator for the donor program and perfectly healthy, and then all of a sudden she needs to get a kidney transplant. Right. So she went on dialysis and got on the organ transplant waiting list. And she went back to work, got better, and started playing the waiting game. And that's where I kind of came in, and I didn't know anything about organ donation. I don't even think I was registered to be a donor at this point. But we struck up conversations over a 3-month period, and then we finally met in person, and I finally got to see Vicki for the first time in 20 years, and she looked great. She looked beautiful. And I remember the first question I asked her was, are you sure you're sick? And she's like, yeah, I'm definitely sick. So we advanced our relationship, and we actually did end up getting engaged. We kind of were going to wait to get married until the transplant. But what happened was Vicki ended up getting a lot sicker, and then eventually she passed away waiting for that kidney transplant. And in the end, although Vicki didn't get the gift, she was actually able to be a tissue donor, where she donated the corneas of her eyes to 2 separate women. So after that, you'd think that was the end of the story, but I got called into the Secretary of State's office the following week, and they asked me to take her job to complete the mission that Vicki couldn't complete herself. I didn't really hesitate. I ended up taking the job. I didn't know anything about organ donation. I just knew from the experience of what I went through with Vicki that I don't want anybody to ever go through that again. So I started working for the Secretary of State as a coordinator. And get this, I'm in her desk.
Oh, wow. And when was this?
This is 2013, right in the beginning of 2013. So yeah, the first day of work, I'm sitting at the desk. There's a calendar there with their last day of work. There's a coffee cup with their lipstick on it, and I'm trying to figure out what do I do? I knew what she did, and she was great at it, but where do I go? Where do I start? So they didn't really let me do much in the beginning. Basically, I was the lift man. I would carry boxes around and help escort people, to their events and stuff. And finally, I just put myself down in the Thompson Center in the circle in there, and I just put a table up with the tablecloth, and I just started talking to people about organ donation. Hey, would you like to register to be a donor? Yeah. And I did that for like 3 or 4 months, and finally I got better. I started learning about it, and then I really got into it, and I made it a mission. And it's now 11 years later, and I've joined every board that I could possibly join. I'm the DLI co-chairman now, the program manager, and I've never lost that passion when it comes to organ donation, about the need for it, and I never want to see anyone not get that transplant that they so need.
Absolutely. And especially having that personal story, I'm sure when you're spreading the word and spreading that mission, it speaks a little bit more impactful to others because you were side by side with someone that you cared about.
It was. I didn't educate myself. I lived it.
Yeah. Well, kind of continuing that talk, first off, Donate Life is a big sponsor with SafeLIGHT Foundation. So first off, thank you and Donate Life for being a sponsor, or excuse me, being a partner to the SafeLIGHT Foundation. How did paths cross with Donate Life and the SafeLIGHT Foundation?
Sure. Now, the SafeLIGHT Foundation is a teen ambassador program that promotes safe driving. The Illinois Secretary of State is basically where your DMV is, where you take your driver's test and pass, with a good driving record. So it's a natural fit. Organ donation saves or improves lives. Safe driving saves lives, improves lives. So in the end, it was a perfect meld of two organizations with the same mission, and we also focus on a lot of teen ambassador stuff. So at the Secretary of State, we focus on new drivers getting their driver's license to be organ and tissue donors at the registry. So back in 2018, we sponsored a Drive for Life bill, which allowed 16 and 17-year-olds to be registered donors. Prior to that, you had to wait till you were 18.
Got it.
So it didn't make a lot of sense. We'll let somebody drive a car, but we wouldn't let them to be a registered organ donor.
Right.
So we put a lot of emphasis on that. And as of this morning, we're at about 335,000 16 and 17-year-olds that have registered since January 1st, 2018.
That's incredible.
Now that makes up about 22 to 23% of all new registrants. So anyone who goes into the DMV, and gets their driver's license and is eligible to get that on their driver's license, it's about 22% that are at the age of 16 or 17. So the SafeLIGHT Driving Foundation is, we cater around teens, sophomores through juniors and seniors. So we're teaching them to be responsible, just like you would be responsible in being a registered organ donor.
Got it. And since that has changed with the 16 and 17-year-olds, do you think that has almost increased the number, because now that they have the opportunity to sign up right at 16, there's now, you said about 22, 23% of teens that have already signed up, right? So now I feel like there's a chance that more people have signed up early on and are going to continue being a donor?
Sure.
Rather than waiting a couple of years.
Exactly. Because think about it. If you got your license at 16 and you weren't able to register because of the law that was prior to 2018, you're not going back into the DMV until you're 21.
Got it.
Even if you wanted to be a donor, if you wanted to be a donor, we wouldn't let you until you're 18. So this new law, it gave consent to teens that wanted to register. Now, you have to be 18. Let's say if something were to happen and the donation was going to take place, the parents still have the authority until you turn 18.
Got it.
But after 18, then they're considered adult. But yeah, I mean, it just makes sense to do something like that. I think we were the 49th state out of 50 to allow teenagers to at age 16 to register.
And then, so if I'm a teen that is about to get my driver's license, are you promoting the opportunity to be a donor before they step into the DMV office?
Yes, we are. So we do it in several ways. Number one, we have 7 coordinators throughout the state of Illinois that teach a driver's ed presentation to all sophomores in high school. So they are there to get educated on what it means to be a registered donor.
Okay.
When I went and got my driver's license, I had no clue what that meant. It didn't make, I didn't want to hear about this. So now we try and reach out to as many as we can. And I think we hit about 80 to 100 schools every year. Now, what we have something coming up, which is pretty special to me, is we're going to be developing a community service program. Okay, so think about this. When you're in high school, they always want you to get community service hours, whether that be, go clean up a pond or go work up at a food, distribution center. So what we're going to do at the Illinois Secretary of State's office is we're going to offer the ability for students to do organ donor campaigns where they can have people come out to their classrooms, they can do tabling in their lunchrooms to promote organ and tissue donation, and they're going to get community service credit hours for that. And we're going to run that all the way from August until graduation of next year, and it's going to be an ongoing program. And my thought process behind this is that I have 8 coordinators or 7 coordinators throughout the state, and they can only reach so many schools, and there's over 1,000 schools in Illinois. So we can do this remotely through like a video call, and if they're interested, they can go to their counselors, find out more about the program, and we can talk to them about it, and they can do them on their own. We'll send them out the supplies. So I envision us tripling, if not more, the number of organ donor registration tables that we're going to be doing throughout the state of Illinois in areas that we can't reach. So it's going to be a win-win for both of us. We're going to register more teens, and we're going to give community service hours because you need that for your college education or your college applications, or you need it maybe even for a resume if you're going out there. A lot of these students don't have a lot of work experience, but it's nice to be able to explain that I worked on an 8-month-long campaign with the Secretary of State to promote organ donation, and this is what I did.
Yeah, it's great for the resume, great for college applications. And also since Donate Life is a partner with SafeLIGHT, I wonder if there's a way we could get the Teen Ambassador program involved in that as well, and being almost an extension of the marketing and a way to help, get students involved in it.
Well, we already have. So of the 15 students that graduated this year from the SafeLIGHT Ambassador program, I think we taught the presentation at 12 of their schools.
Wow!
So it is a good partnership when it comes to that. An ambassador wants to teach safe driving habits, but they also want to teach good citizenship by registering to be a donor and helping out others in time of need.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think the Teen Ambassador program, with your involvement in it, how do you foresee it transpiring in the next couple of years?
Well, the first couple of years, I think we had some issues with the shutdown, and then after that, we're slowly building up on it. I attended every presentation that they did this year, and I just wanted to get a feel for what we're all about, and it really did well. Different schools, different arenas. Where they did the presentations as opposed to like the first year where they just did them at one location. So it's like you're almost spreading the word, and we're getting quality applicants when it comes to being ambassadors. And I watched the kids from the beginning to the end and how they grew, and the leadership skills that they had, and even like their presentations were so much better. It's a good learning experience for someone. I highly recommend if you were a teenager to take up on this program. Yeah,
it's a great way for them to grow as an individual, to promote safe driving, which isn't always easy to do at such a young age.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue with safe driving, and they emphasize this in their presentations, is the peer pressure that people have. When you have your graduated driver's license, you're limited to the number of people that you can have as passengers in your car. I mean, how many times are you going out to the mall or with your friends, and they're like, oh, everybody hop in, and they're like, oh no, we're over a couple people, and your friends will be like, oh, who cares? It's not a big deal.
Yeah, or it's a quick ride. It's only going to be 5 minutes, right? Or we're only going to so-and-so's house.
Or curfew hours. Hey, it's past curfew. So that's the voice that I want the ambassadors to do. Everybody learns in driver's ed, how to make a right turn or a left turn. But I want the teens to be the voice to their fellow teenagers to say, hey, sometimes it's not always the right thing to do, and it's not the easiest thing to when you're talking to your friends. But sometimes you just got to say, hey, no, I can't do that.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's kind of get back into your story. So when we understand that you took the role kind of because of a personal, experience that you had. Would you say that that personal experience was the main motivation to the work that you continue to do?
Yeah, obviously, I always say in my head that I don't want a person not to ever get that transplant that is on the waiting list. I mean, there are so many people that are sick. Like last year alone, of the 4,000 people that were on the waiting list in Illinois, 350 of them had to either be dropped off of the waiting list because they were either too sick or they passed away.
Wow.
Which to me is a tragedy. And now, I think my mindset has turned around a little bit because I celebrate every transplant. Every one of the people that is on the current waiting list, when they get that gift, I'm happy inside. I don't know if I felt the same way in the beginning. I kind of felt jealous in the beginning when I saw someone get that transplant because she didn't get the transplant. But now my mindset is totally different. I just want to see people get healthy and get better and live lives and change the world because they got that second opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there a couple stories that that you like to talk about and from previous experience of the work that Donate Life does?
My favorite story is this one. So about 5 years ago, we would have the White Sox come down.
And you're a big fan of the White Sox?
I'm a huge White Sox fan.
Okay.
We would have the White Sox come down every year. And the reason why was because the announcer for the White Sox was Ed Farmer. He received a kidney transplant in 1990 from his brother, and he was grateful for it. And I got to be really good friends with Ed Farmer. Even before I started working for the Illinois Secretary of State, I would go to the events when he was hosting them. So for about 8 years, he would bring the White Sox to come to the Thompson Center and sign autographs, and I always thought that was really cool. It was one of the highlights of National Donate Life Month. And then he brought, in 2018, Harold Baines. Now, Harold Baines was my favorite player of all time. When I was 9 years old, I collected his baseball cards. He was just one of the greatest players that I've ever watched, and he was so much fun to watch. And it turns out that his aunt needed a kidney, had a genetic disease, and he attended the organ donor event. And I thought that was so cool. I got his autograph. I met him. Nicest guy in the world. And I just thought, wow, my favorite player ever attended my organ donor event.
Right.
Yeah, and then the next year we didn't hear from Harold as much. He got elected into the Hall of Fame in 2019, and then in 2021, we kind of went silent on him. And then I was trying to get the flag raised in 2023 with the White Sox. So the flag would be like our organ donor flag. Okay. And I kept calling, and they were quiet about it. And they're like, I can't believe I can't get through to the White Sox on this. They're good partners with us.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, wait a second. Opening day is coming up. We're going to do something special. On that day, they announced that Harold had received a heart transplant.
No kidding.
And a kidney transplant.
Through Donate Life?
Through the organ donor program. So it turns out that he had the same the genetic disease that his aunt had, and I guess it had come to his family. So, that was the moment where I was like, "Holy cow, my idol!" Did I have a really big role to play in that? No, but it felt really good that someone that I grew up with and really idolized as a kid received something, that I strongly stand up for. And I got to meet him a bunch of times, and I can almost call him my friend now. I called him when I got the promotion to the project manager, and he's a man of very, very, little words. And he just said, "You're a good man, Dan." And I was like, wow, that felt good. So that was probably one of the coolest things that I've ever seen.
How remarkable. I mean, you're pretty much your childhood hero, and having conversations and being in the same room, and then also being a part of pretty much everything that you stand for.
Incredible. The other one that I'd like to mention was is that I was just reading the paper one day, and they had mentioned that a gentleman received a 5-organ transplant. His name's Philip Hanks.
5-organ transplant?
Yeah, he received 5 organs in one transplant, and his name's Philip Hanks. And I read it, and he's lived in Joliet, and a couple of months went by, and I actually got in contact with him, and I'm like, "Phil, I want to hear your story." And we got to become friends, and I said, "Well, what are you doing now?" He's like, "I'm recovering," because he had just got the transplant. I said, "Why don't you come work for us?"
Okay.
So I invited him over as a contract coordinator to come and talk to the schools about organ and tissue donation, and he
Great
agreed.
idea.
Yeah, so for about a year and a half, he worked for our program, and just an incredible story. He just celebrated his 3-year anniversary at the end of April, or his three-year transplant anniversary at the end of April. And the sad part about Phil is he got so healthy that he went back to his old job or his old career as an IT professional, and he became an IT director. So good for him, man.
Yeah.
He's doing great. But that was one of the coolest things, just to bring in someone that
5 organs.
I think it was like the sixth one ever in the world.
No kidding.
That could do that.
That's remarkable.
Yep.
I mean, 5 organs. I can only imagine 1 or 2, but 5.
Yep.
Insane. So speaking, you brought this up recently. So April was the National Donate Life Month. And with that just concluding, what were some events that you worked on with that?
Sure. I think I brought a graphic for what we did. So
Oh, great.
the national theme this year was Donors Are Superstars.
Okay.
And I picked up on that. I said, yeah, that's a pretty good reason. That's a pretty good, slogan.
Yeah.
And the first thing I did is I equated stars with the planets and, the stars in the sky.
Yeah.
So I Googled how many planetariums we have in Illinois. Did you know we have 21 planetariums in Illinois?
In Illinois?
Yes,
No,
we
I
do.
only know the one on the lake.
Okay, so the one on the lake is the Adler Planetarium,
Uh-huh.
and that's the oldest planetarium in North America.
No kidding.
So I made some phone calls to them, and I got them to partner with us.
Okay.
So Adler contacted Carbondale, which is SIU, and we got everyone in between. So I ended up getting the 7 largest planetariums throughout the state to partner with the organ donor program. So we did tabling events, we had our press conference, and I didn't even know this, but apparently there was an eclipse on the 8th, because I was calling them in January, and they're like, let's all do it on the 8th. So we did organ donor events throughout the state of Illinois.
Perfect timing.
On the date. We had over 10,000 people at the lakefront. There was 20,000 people watching the entire, the total eclipse in Carbondale.
Right, because that was the total,
Right. The total eclipse.
total eclipse, correct. Thank you.
So it was a very successful campaign. I'm telling you, the planetariums are the nicest people.
Really?
They were so on board when it came to this.
Awesome.
Adler was great. I couldn't have had a better experience with that, and they did a great job with the organ donor awareness. So they had
Perfect timing.
they had the QR codes at every one of our planetariums and the gift shops. So they did good. It was a good campaign.
Incredible. So now that April's done, are any future events that you have on the books?
Yeah. So we do a lot of outside stuff in the summer. So you'll see like the National Kidney Foundation does their kidney walk. We'll do the Miles for Mad Dog out in Frankfurt. We have organ donor nights at 2 Frontier League baseball games, which the first one will be in July at the Schaumburg Boomers, which is in the north suburbs. And then we ended up in August for the Windy City Thunderbolts,
Oh,
which
nice.
is August 30th. We're going to end it that way. Now, in August, the whole month, we call it Minority Donor Awareness Month. And that's where we highlight the need for minority donors. As you know, or you might not know this, but over 50% of the organ and tissue donor wait list is minority.
Wow.
And it only represents about 1/3 of the population. So there is a need for minority registrations and minority donors.
And how can other people sign up or learn more information on this in case they were on the fence or?
Yeah, we have a website, which is www.lifegoeson.com. It's got a lot of really good information on there. Go to the DMV to register. You can do that. Most people do it at the DMV. Like 85% of the people that actually put that on their license do it at the DMV. You can do it through the internet, and you can actually sign up through your iPhone if you wanted to.
Oh, really?
You could do something like that.
So if you wanted to go in person, though, you don't have to wait till your license is about to expire. If you've been impacted by a story or
Yeah.
our viewers are interested in joining right now, they can just go right to the DMV and sign up.
Yeah, you can go to the DMV and just remember that symbol does not mean you know, that symbol is your request. It is something that you're not going to be able to answer if you were to be an organ donor. So what it does is it tells your loved one, it tells your husband or your wife or your kids or your mom or dad that that's what I wanted to do, because by not putting it on your driver's license, that doesn't mean no. What it means is somebody else will be asked. So by putting it on your license, it takes a lot of pressure off of the family. And I know this because, you know, we looked at all the people that were donors last year in Illinois, which is about 2,200 people.
Wow.
And the ones that were eligible, like the ones that were old enough to get their driver's license, 70% of them had that symbol on there. So we know it's a stressful situation when you're about to lose a loved one. I went through it, so I know exactly what it was like. And I don't know if I would have said yes if she didn't have that on her license. But I knew that's what, you know, I knew that's what her wishes were, and I was there to fulfill her wishes. Just like have that conversation with your family, you know. It's not something you really want to talk around the dinner table with, but hey, when my kids told me we're putting it on their license when they got their driver's license, it made me kind of proud.
Absolutely. I mean, it's something that, it's a discussion that we don't want to have, but it's something I think all families should have, just so we're all on the same page, right?
Totally agree with you on that.
Well, awesome. Well, I appreciate your time, and Dan, can't thank you enough for talking more about everything that you do with the Secretary of State and with Donate Life. And again, thank you so much for being a partner with the SafeLIGHT Foundation, because we really couldn't do what we do without your support. So really appreciate you and all that you stand for.
Right, and if you want to find out more information about the SafeLIGHT Foundation, just you know, look up their website. It's a really good foundation. I think it will make your student mature, and you know, it'll teach them some good life lessons.
Yeah, we're still accepting applications for the Teen Ambassador program. So, you know, looking forward to our third year, which will start in August and run through the school year of next, crazy to think, 2024, 2025.
We're already thinking about that, yeah.
Well, again, Dan, thank you so much for your time. Everyone, please remember to drive safe and drive right with SafeLIGHT. Have a great night.